What is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going to be sharing some techniques that you can use on your beats, and it involves drum breaks. So I've got 4 different concepts for working with drum breaks, and all of these you should be able to use on your beats. Now I've got the SP404 Mark II here in front of me, but these techniques should work on any device. So even if you've got a DAW like Logic, FL Studio, etc., these should still work. I will be using some of the features on the SP to process these samples, but most modern samplers should have something equivalent. So if you're not on the SP404 Mark II, then you should be able to follow along. Okay, so I've been using drum breaks quite a lot recently, and I've got a new channel called SPVIDZ. I'm just informally uploading some beats on there and beat ideas. It just gives me a place where I can do that and not have to do it to my main channel here. So if you wanted to go and subscribe there, I'd really appreciate it. The first 2 beats that I've done have been kind of boom bappy and golden era kind of hip hop. So I've been using drum breaks in those. So because I've been using those, I thought I'd do this video for you guys. So the first thing that I'm going to do is import a drum break. I've got quite a few saved on my SD card here, so let's go through and have a look. Okay, so I finally found one that I want to use, and what I'm going to do for the first tip is just a straight loop. Now, I've had criticism in the comments for doing this in the past on really early videos, but honestly guys, check out some really famous hip-hop tracks, and they just have a drum break that loops round and round and round. So if it's good enough for the pros, I'm happy to share this tip as well. It is obviously the most basic way of using a drum break, but I still think it's worth sharing. So I've got this break here. And we're going to make that loop round at the correct point. So I'm going to go into start and end, and we're going to play it and roughly see where the end point is. Okay, so it's round about here. And we can use the roll button to find that endpoint a lot easier. There we go, we've nailed that one now. So now I should have a looping drum break. If I make sure the loop is on, I can turn gate off, and then I can just tap this pad and it will loop through round and round for as long as I want it to. Okay, so that is the most basic way pretty much that you can use a drum break. Just find a loop point like that using the start and end point on the SP or whatever device that you have, and then you can lay that down and start putting samples over the top. Okay, for the next one, I'm going to copy that. And what I'm going to do is chop this up, but I'm going to chop it into quite big sections. So this is probably the next step along in terms of complexity. It's still relatively basic, but it does give you more options than just a straight loop. So for this one, I'm going to actually use the chopping feature on the SP404 Mark II. So I'm going to go Shift and Chop, which is Shift and Start End. And I'm going to divide this up in a way which allows me to play the break back perfectly, but also allows me to rearrange it as well. So check this out. Okay, so let's go in and check those chops. And if you had a bit longer with this, obviously if you weren't making a video about this specific technique, then you could go in, hone in all those chop points really carefully. And what it allows you to do then is play back those particular chops, but you can rearrange them. So let me give you that a demonstration. I'll just stay in this chop window. Obviously you could go and chop all this up properly, but I can just stay in here to show you the effects of what this can do. So that gives you a lot more flexibility when you've chopped that up individually. But the thing I really like about this technique is it really keeps the groove and kind of feel of the original break. So if you're someone that just wants something a bit different, you're fed up of the sound that you're creating with your drums and your programming, then this is a great way to break out of that, because obviously someone else has drummed this chop. I'm just rearranging what they've played and I'm still getting that feel of the original drum break. So I really like this technique, and I've actually been using this one quite a lot. Okay, for the third one, let's come out of that, and we don't need to copy that again. I can just show you this third technique using the same pad now. So what we're going to do again is chop, but we're going to go a bit more in depth with the chopping, and what we're actually going to do in this one is try and extract the individual sounds of this drum break. So we're going to try and get a kick, a snare, and a hi-hat. We're going to try and get those on separate pads, and then we can do literally whatever we want in terms of programming. So this again is another layer of complexity. You're going in to the chop, you're finding the individual sound, and you're cutting it out, and then you're using that in whatever way that you want. So in fact, the best way for me to do this on this video, you can use a chop feature, but because I'm using all one bank here, I'm just going to copy this 3 times. So I've got 3 different copies, and in each one of these I'm going to extract a sound. So let's start off with the kick. So basically for the kick, all I need to do is bring that endpoint right back like this. We can zoom in. Okay, that sounds pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and truncate that. Okay, next up is snare. You can quite heavily see the snare transient here on this waveform, so let's scroll along a bit, and we'll get that endpoint all the way back as well. Something around there looks loosely right. Start point slightly off, so let's zoom into that. Okay, and that's finally got it, so that sounds about right there. And we can hear a hi-hat as well straight after the first kick, so let's zoom in and try and grab that. We'll do some more work on these in a little while, we're just getting them cut out for now. Okay, that sounds relatively okay as well, so let's have a listen to those 3 sounds now. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and put envelopes on all of these. These are really going to help the sounds to sound a little bit smoother. So let's go to the hi-hat first, and we're going to do shift and pitch and speed, which is envelope. Hopefully whatever device you're on has got this as well. And I'm just going to put a kind of 3 envelope on the end, the 3 release envelope. And maybe we could try 1 on the start as well, just to see if that smoothens things out a little bit. There we go, yeah, that sounds quite nice. So that one's fine, let's go ahead and go to 6, which is the snare. Just envelope the end of that, maybe that can be a bit more severe. That sounds good, and then the kick. That sounds pretty good as well, so let's come out of that, and now you can see there we've got all the individual sounds. You can obviously go a lot further with the processing and tweak those to sound a lot better. But we've got all the individual sounds there. We can program those however the hell we want and make completely unique drum patterns. Obviously, this is the most popular technique, I would say. It gives you really, really good flexibility, and you're getting that raw kind of drum break sound as well. So that's a really, really good one. Okay, for the final tip, now this is just kind of an embellishment of the previous one that we've just done. And what I'm going to do is layer some sounds underneath those to thicken them up and make them sound a little bit fatter. So in terms of the title of the video, 4 ways you can use drum breaks. The way I could say it is that you can use drum break sounds underneath your one-shots to give them that kind of more raw and sort of authentic sound. We're doing it the other way in this video, but that's how I'm going to kind of tenuously link it in. So shift import from SD cards, samples, and I'm going to go to my SPVIDZ drum packs. All of these are available on spvids.com if you guys want to support what I'm doing here. So I'm going to go to the Lo-Fi Drums Volume 3, we'll try that. And I'm just going to do the kick as an example. You can be as creative as you like with this layering, but I'm just going to show you how I would do a kick. So I want to try and find something that's nice and thick and low sounding, We've got the texture from the chop from the drum break already, so I'm just looking for something that's going to add a bit of depth. Okay, this kick 2 sounds pretty good, so I'm going to import that. And now what I'm going to do is use pad link. So this is going to make sure that 2 sounds or more can play at exactly the same time. Whichever one you hit, it will play both. So I'm going to pad link those 2 kicks together. So 5, which was the one that we cut out of the drum break in the last example, if you remember. And then 9 is the one that I've just imported there. So let's go over to pad link D, and I'm going to link those together. And now if I hit this kick, you can hear that that sounds way meatier than just the drum break kick on its own. If I go ahead and copy that one, that's it on its own. And this is it with the drum layered underneath. And if you want to experiment with the sound, you can change the level of each one of those kicks. So if you want less of that fat sound, you could go into pad 9 and bring down the level of that a little bit. You can decide how prominent you want that. I want that right up there to thicken that kick up, so I'm going to have it on full volume. And then if we choose the drum break kit, maybe I could turn that down a bit. So I'm just getting a bit of that flavour from that kick, but it's not going to be the main sound. It's the thuddy kind of Lo-Fi Drums Volume 3 kick that's going to do more of the work. And now we can combine that. So that sounds a lot thicker, a lot harder, and definitely more of what we want for kick sounds in our beats. So that's it for this one, guys. Probably quite a lengthy video again, but I think those tips are really, really valuable for drum breaks. Chopping up drum breaks and layering them and doing all those techniques which I just mentioned are really, really fun. So if you've not looked at drum breaks before, hopefully you can try these and get them layered under your beats. I'll be back with more content soon, guys. Thank you all to my members and everyone that's supporting me with purchases from the shop. I do really, really appreciate it. I will be back with more content very soon.